Today is 22nd of July 2015, Wednesday. Looking at the economic calendar for today, the important ones were the Aussie CPI. It came out at 0.7%, almost same as forecasted and more than the previous month. So this should be good for Aussie, but when I looked at the chart, Aussie actually fell down today. I think the reason seems to be more of what the RBA Governor Stevens talk. He seems to be, there was a news on CNBC saying Australia's RBA Governor Stevens says rate cuts on table but sees risk. But more importantly, if you look at this, he noted that the local currency was adjusting lower as desired and having a welcome expansionary impact on the economy. So he likes Aussie to be low, and that may be one reason why Aussie dollar fell down today. The British pound NPC official bank rate votes were still unanimous, so all the 9 members voted for the rate to be kept as it is, and also for the asset purchase facility. But on the other hand, there's news of how the Bank of England minutes show edge towards a hike. So on the horizon, the British or the Bank of England would be looking to raise the rates. There was one news about the rates and the irresistible rise of sterling. So when we look at this news, for example, pound rises after BOE minutes, and I think one from yesterday as well, sterling bulls ride BOE rate debate. As far as the charts are concerned, the pound dollar didn't raise much. Pound, Aussie, Canadian and yen moved up today. So it looks like in general the pound is gaining strength. Later tonight there's the Kiwi rate coming out, so the forecast is for the rate to be cut by 25 basis points. Let's wait and watch. There are 2 other things that I think I wanted to show you. Before that, I wanted to show about one news about the yen. So from the speak, when the Bank of Japan, looks like there was a press conference yesterday after they released the policy meeting minutes, which was yesterday, Tuesday. So the gist or the summary was he thinks there's no more need for QE because inflation is going to rise. But the news seems to be saying that the market seems to be ignoring what he's saying. So how does this translate into the currency movements? Dollar yen didn't fall down, pound yen moved up today, and euro yen didn't move much, didn't move up. So if he is saying that there's no more, the result from the QE is having diminishing return, so which means the yen should strengthen because the money supply, they are not going to increase it. But it looks like the market is not really ignoring, not really taking his words seriously. In fact, see, for example, but nobody seems to believe him, for example. And there was one more interesting line I saw somewhere. So instead of rhetoric, fundamentals are more important, and we're still expecting QE in October. So, and because of the recent China weakness, blah blah blah. So that was another interesting one. Right, before we move on to chart, there was something that I wanted to show. So for example, before in the charts we used to look at US dollar index. So here for example it's showing in 12,000s mark. But I remember when listening to Financial Times reporters, they normally refer to this other number, which is this 97 dollar weighted index or something. So this is one chart we should be keeping an eye on, because as this appreciates, dollar will appreciate as well. And the other interesting thing I saw from yesterday was I was watching a documentary on Warren Buffett, and I was surprised to find out that the one share was worth, or it crossed the 100,000 US dollars mark in 2006. So if you look in the chart, in 2006 October, it crossed 100,000 US dollars. So I was keen to find out what is the current share price, and when I saw that it was at 215,000 plus today, this means someone who has 5 shares of Berkshire Hathaway is already a millionaire. Going back to charts from 1980s, it was trading in the hundreds of dollars, $275. It's amazing how much the share price has gone up. As the narrator in the documentary said, Warren Buffett has made many millionaires. Right, enough of wandering around. Let's take a look at the charts. Today, US dollar, so the spike from yesterday, euro stopped today. I think, but there's still some chance it may try to do correction at the 20 EMA or 50 EMA. In the weekly, it's still in a downtrend. Pound dollar, in spite of all the news, even though there's a slight up movement, it's not a massive up movement as far as the pound dollar is concerned. But in the weekly, I think it will try to touch the 200 EMA as we have been discussing in the last few days. Dollar yen, if you look at the comment from the Bank of Japan chief Kuroda, so his statement should make dollar yen go down because it should increase the strength of the yen, but it didn't. Even though yesterday it fell down a bit, but today it seems to have gone up again. In the weekly, it seems to be on a proper uptrend. Dollar Canadian, surprisingly, I saw, in spite of not seeing any fundamental news of why this should move up, so this is showing Canadian weakness and dollar strength. But as I read in the book, the reminiscence of a stock operator, he says when we see a chart, the reason why the price move may not be apparent at the moment, but it may become clear in a few days or weeks time. And the Aussie dollar, as we saw today, it fell down. So I think today if the Kiwi rate cut happens tonight, this may show some solidarity with the Kiwi and may fall down further. Kiwi dollar again today, after the correction from the last 2 days, on Monday and Tuesday, today Wednesday it dropped a bit. So today if there's a rate cut, it will definitely fall down, but if it doesn't and keep the rate at 3.25%, it will spike up. And it will at least try to go to 20 EMA, but I think in the long run, it may fall down, I think. And the crosses, Euro Yen is stagnating around this one, so we'll have to wait and watch. As we had been saying, I think it may try to reach down to the 200 EMA. The green line is 200 EMA. Pound yen, as we discussed earlier, pound appreciated against yen, but didn't against the dollar. So in the weekly, it's in a proper uptrend. Euro Canadian, similar to dollar Canadian, Euro Canadian moved up as well. And in case of Euro Canadian, it seems to be the beginning of an uptrend. But if Euro depreciates against dollar in the future, I don't somehow see this moving up too much as well. So unless Canadian dollar weakens very much, I think this may stagnate around this region, but it may be a premature assumption because in the weekly it's looking like it's beginning to form a nice uptrend. Pound Canadian, a pound spiked up against Canadian, similar to Euro Canadian and dollar Canadian. Sometimes when a trend is running, you never know when it's going to stop. Euro Aussie, with this currency pair too, it seems to be forming another uptrend. But we have to watch how Euro performs in the next few days or week for this uptrend to really materialize, because in the weekly it looks like it's beginning to form an uptrend. But if you go back a few months further to last year, even though it began to form an uptrend, the uptrend didn't last. So with the trends, if they tend to become very good, otherwise they tend to stagnate. Or the other word for that one is choppy. Pound Aussie, after falling for the last 2 days, it went up today. Now we'll have to see if this takes out the previous high. It's in a very good uptrend. Now for this weekly, today is Wednesday, it may be forming a doji. If it falls down tomorrow and Friday, but if it doesn't, then it will keep moving up. The point was, if it stays like this in the next few days, and if this week ends as a doji, then this may be a signal for an end of this uptrend. Right, those are the currencies. And now if we take a quick look through the indices, Nikkei is falling down since yesterday, even though not a very sharp drop. S&P I think was also falling down, I think, since yesterday. There was news of Apple's results not very satisfying, so Nasdaq fall down and S&P fall down as well. And Dow fell down, so the stock markets in US has been falling down the last few days. FTSE I saw today it fell down sharply. Well, this didn't seem to be. Now the correlation between the movement of pound and FTSE has been broken, because today pound dollar kind of went up, or other pound pairs, but FTSE fell down. US dollar index, as we saw in the other one, it's on an uptrend. Oil, I saw it fell down below $50. I thought it was going to stabilize around the $50 mark, because there was one news today about the Russian economy, saying the Russian economy is really going into recession because of the oil price at $50. So now if it's falling down further, the economies depending on oil would be facing some difficulties. For example, Russia, Norway, and other petroleum producing countries. In fact, I think we discussed few days ago that Saudi Arabia raised around $4 billion on the bond market. So there may be chance of US oil falling. Now, In relation to this, I saw another news saying that if the commodities prices are falling down further, which means dollar is gaining strength. Now, with respect to the Fed rate hike, if Fed goes on and hike the rate up, then the prices of commodity will fall down further. So which means the prices of oil, gold, other metals, for example iron ore, silver, copper, will all fall down because of the gaining of strength of dollar. So all the commodities producing economies and countries will really suffer. So I think Fed will have to do a really juggling act of finding out if it's worthwhile hiking the rate up, looking at the numbers from the US economy. But I think they will have to give a careful considerations of the effect of its rate hike on other countries, because when US hikes rate, it's basically setting the interest rate or the price of money for all around the world. And same thing with the Brent, it was falling down as well. And gold was trading at 1100, and I think it fell down below 1100, I think. Yeah. Now it's at 1093. And so this is the kind of gist of how the commodities prices are falling down in the recent days, or in fact since around summer last year, when the dollar began to gain strength. And I think we have to stop here for today, and we'll come back tomorrow.